Good evening, Africa and the world. We bring you one of the most inspiring stories rising out of West Africa, a story not of conflict or crisis, but of unity, dignity, and determination. A story of a people who have reminded us all that transformation begins not with foreign aid or international intervention, but with the hands and hearts of citizens. Our headline: Sama, clean up their country in 1 week. Yes, you heard that right. In what can only be described as a nationwide movement of hope and patriotism, over 30,000 citizens across Burkina Faso came together, from cities to villages, to clean, beautify, and restore their communities in just 7 days. This wasn't ordered by the IMF, it wasn't funded by the World Bank, and it wasn't performed for applause from global donors. It was simply a nation rising to say, we deserve to live in a clean, healthy, and dignified environment, and we will build it ourselves. From the capital city of Ouagadougou to the rural communities of Kaya, the people picked up their tools, brooms, shovels, gloves, and buckets and got to work. They swept streets, unclogged gutters, repainted public buildings, cleaned markets and schools, and planted trees. Hospitals were sanitized, trash was collected in tons, and public toilets were restored for use. For 7 days straight, the spirit of national pride swept through the country, literally and figuratively. And who were these heroes? Not politicians in suits, not foreign contractors, not hired workers. They were teachers and students, mothers and elders, civil servants, mechanics, nurses, and soldiers, people who work in the fields by day and volunteer in the streets by night. Children joined in, learning by example. Religious leaders prayed and then helped scrub community centers. Even army personnel laid down their arms to pick up tools and clean hospitals and schools. This wasn't a program, it was a movement that declared loud and clear, we will not wait for someone else to build our future, we are already doing it ourselves. What's most remarkable is not just the scale of the cleanup, but the spirit behind it. Burkina Faso has faced its share of challenges, from security threats to economic hardship, but this week proved that the soul of the nation is unshaken. If anything, it is stronger, more united, and more determined than ever, in a time when many nations are debating who will help them. Answered with action, we will help ourselves. It is a message to the continent: development does not always require billions. Sometimes it begins with thousands of citizens who believe they deserve better and are willing to make it happen. This event also sends a loud message to those who often look at Africa through the lens of dependence, to those who ask, where is African leadership? Or where is African responsibility? Burkina Faso has answered, leadership is here, responsibility is alive, and it is thriving in the streets, the homes, and the hearts of its people. To the rest of Africa, Burkina Faso is offering not just inspiration but a challenge. Can we also step forward to clean, to build, to reclaim pride in our surroundings? Can we show that progress doesn't always start with policies but with people? Can we prove, once and for all, that Africa is not waiting for saviors because Africans are saving themselves? Tonight, we salute the people of Burkina Faso, the 30,000 citizens who didn't just pick up trash, they picked up hope, who didn't just clean their towns, they cleaned the image of African capability. They reminded the world that dignity is not donated, it is earned and defended with unity and action. This story is not over, it is just the beginning, because what starts with 1 week can become a lifelong culture, a culture of care, a culture of pride, a culture of building Africa, by Africans, for Africans. Burkina Faso, we see you, we honor you, and we thank you for showing us what true patriotism looks like. I'm Mark, and this is African Addict.
Welcome to African Addict, your trusted source for the latest news stories and developments from across the African continent. From breaking headlines to inspiring achievements, political updates to cultural moments, we bring you the facts, the voices, and the impact that shape Africa today. Stay informed, stay connected, and join the conversation. This is African Addict, where Africa comes first. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon for daily updates. Disclaimer: the content shared on African Addict is for informational and educational purposes only. While we strive for accuracy and fairness in our news reporting, we do not make any warranties about the completeness, reliability, or accuracy of the information presented. Opinions expressed in our videos do not necessarily reflect the views of the channel. Viewers are encouraged to verify details independently and form their own conclusions.
Good evening, viewers across Africa and beyond. You're watching African Addict, your trusted voice for bold stories and powerful truths. Tonight, we bring you an extraordinary story of unity, resilience, and national pride. A story that will redefine how we view civic responsibility and African self-reliance. Over 30,000 Burkinabés clean up the country in 1 week. Picture this. Across towns, villages, cities, and provinces, 30,000 citizens, men, women, children, students, soldiers, teachers, elders, market vendors, rose up, not in protest, not in anger, but in service. In one unified act of nation building, they picked up their tools and cleaned Burkina Faso, one gutter, one road, one hospital at a time. All of this was done voluntarily, without the involvement of foreign aid agencies, donor funds, or international assistance. Just citizens answering the call of their country. From the beating heart of Ouagadougou to the far reaches of Kambasiri, Yako, Kapila, Bobo Dioulasso, and Kédougou, the energy was electrifying. Streets that once overflowed with waste are now pristine. Hospital compounds once buried in dust and weeds now shine. Public buildings, schools, clinics, and roads were swept, repaired, repainted, and reclaimed. This is not fiction. This is the real, powerful, and untold story of modern Burkina Faso, a nation that is refusing to wait for permission, funding, or validation. A people who are proving that dignity can be defended, not just in speeches, but in brooms, rakes, and shovels held by their own hands. A patriotic uprising, without violence. The campaign began as a government-endorsed week of national days of patriotic commitment and citizen participation. It was not simply a call to clean. It was a call to reclaim. The slogan was powerful. For order and discipline, I commit myself. And commit, they did. In every region, civic pride replaced cynicism. Women's associations led the charge in markets. Youth organizations took responsibility for school grounds. Civil servants stepped out of offices and into the streets. Religious leaders gathered their followers to clean mosques and churches. Soldiers helped hospitals and repaired drainage systems. In places where political meetings are common but follow-through rare, Burkina Faso broke the mold. This was not policy, it was practice. The government didn't send foreigners or contractors. It gave the people the authority and tools to act. What was achieved? In just 7 days, here's what the people of Burkina Faso accomplished. Over 12,000 tons of waste were removed from roads, gutters, and public areas. Drainage systems were cleared in dozens of towns, reducing flood risk. Public hospitals were scrubbed, painted, and beautified, making them dignified spaces once again. Hundreds of kilometers of roads, footpaths, and alleys were cleaned and maintained. Trees were planted. Parks were rejuvenated. Community halls and civic buildings were restored. Public latrines were rehabilitated. Water access points were cleaned. In some regions, citizens even organized blood donation drives alongside cleanup activities. All of this was done in the heat of the dry season. Without pay, without cameras, without applause from international organizations. Not a political stunt, a cultural awakening. This was not about politics. It wasn't about headlines or elections. It was about values. Burkinabés have long been known for their courage and pride. From the revolutionary spirit of Thomas Sankara to the unshakable will of today's youth, Burkina Faso is no stranger to standing tall. This cleanup was a direct channeling of that national character. It reminded people that independence isn't just about flags and borders. It's about responsibility. You cannot claim to be sovereign while living in squalor. You cannot ask for respect from the world while your children walk to school through garbage. This is why the people took it personally. They understood that a clean country is not a favor done to politicians. It is a legacy passed to the next generation. Youth leading the way in schools and universities, the cleanup became a movement. Students took ownership of their campuses. They planted trees, painted walls, and restored water taps. Many teachers held workshops during the week to talk about civic duty, environmental health, and leadership. Young people posted videos on social media showing before and after shots of their neighborhoods. They used hashtags to encourage others to join in. What started as a government call quickly became a youth-led revolution of action. One student wrote, "We are not waiting for development. We are the development." That sentiment echoed across communities. Young Africans, too often accused of apathy, showed the continent what service looks like. Women as pillars of the movement. In markets across the country, it was the women who led. They organized cleaning rotations, formed neighborhood task forces, and cooked for volunteers. Mothers cleaned schools their children attend. Market vendors paused their sales to clear trash from roadsides. In many towns, women's groups demanded permanent sanitation infrastructure, not just once-a-year cleanups. This was not just about hygiene. It was about power. When women organize, they transform. They reminded us that cleanliness is not merely a public health issue. It is a symbol of dignity. And for them, dignity is non-negotiable. Military and public servants, serving with honor, Burkina Faso's army and police officers didn't watch from a distance. They put on gloves and got to work. In uniform, they scrubbed walls, unblocked gutters, and dug trenches to improve water flow. In some communities, they helped repair roads and footbridges. In others, they distributed sanitation supplies. Their presence was not about control, it was about collaboration. This is what real leadership looks like. Those with power standing side by side with the people. It broke the barrier between the governed and the governors. And in doing so, it built trust. The real message to Africa and the world this week-long cleanup was a story with a much bigger message. Burkina Faso is showing the continent and the world that development doesn't always come from billion-dollar projects. That dignity doesn't arrive with white SUVs and imported experts. That a clean nation isn't gifted from abroad. It is claimed from within. It sends a strong message. We are not beggars. We are builders. This is especially important in an era where African nations are often painted as dependent. This campaign broke that narrative. It told the world, we will clean our streets, rebuild our towns, and uplift our country on our own terms. Critics will ask, is it sustainable? Skeptics will argue that 1 week is not enough. They'll say it's symbolic, temporary, perhaps even performative. But here's the truth. 1 week of action is more powerful than a decade of silence. And what we saw in Burkina Faso wasn't a one-off. It was a cultural shift. Citizens began organizing monthly sanitation groups. Teachers are adding civic engagement to their lessons. Some communities have voted to fine anyone caught littering. Others have requested tools and materials from local government to continue the work. This is not a photo op. It's a seed, and it's already growing. A wake-up call to African leaders, to presidents, governors, and ministers across the continent. Are you watching? Do not wait for international conferences to fix your capital city. Do not wait for grants to restore your hospitals. Mobilize your people. Trust them. Equip them. Walk with them. Burkina Faso didn't ask for permission to start this movement. They simply started. That is what true leadership does. It acts. This movement is an invitation to every African country to remember the power of its people. You do not need permission to build. You need conviction. You need unity. A final word to the people of Burkina Faso. To the thousands who cleaned gutters, who painted walls, who repaired roads and picked up trash, who planted trees and restored beauty. You are the heartbeat of your nation. You are teaching Africa that dignity is not a donation. It is an action, and it starts at home. To the mothers who worked without rest, to the youth who led without waiting for instructions, to the public servants who served without titles, you have written a new chapter in your country's history. Burkina Faso will rise, not because of loans, not because of aid, but because of people like you. A nation reborn through service. The story of these 30,000 citizens is not just about cleaning. It is about reclaiming. It is about restoring faith in country, in community, in the power of people to shape their own destiny. Africa is watching. The world is watching. And they are witnessing something rare. A nation that is cleaning itself not just of trash, but of doubt. Burkina Faso has spoken, not in protest or petition, but in action. And the message is clear. We are ready to build the Africa we deserve. This has been African Addict. I'm your presenter. And tonight, I say with deep pride and admiration, bravo, Burkina Faso. You have set the standard. Now, may the rest of Africa follow.
Thank you for watching African Addict, your home for reliable African news and stories that matter. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with the latest from across the continent. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a headline. Until next time, stay informed, stay inspired. This is African Addict, bringing Africa closer to you.